Hi, welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika, and here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And today, I kind of want to talk a little bit about a subject I've mentioned probably off and on over time, but I think it's worth repeating. And that's conversations about not feeling enough, envy, and so forth. Specifically, if you're practicing as a witch. So, social media makes it almost impossible not to notice what everybody else is doing. Um, you can easily say, "Oh, I don't care," and that's true probably, but it's hard not to notice. At least I don't want to say care, but it's hard not to notice other witches are doing things, and their magic seems to be working great for them. And it's such a beautiful day outside. I thought every time I come outside, right before I come out, it's always dead quiet. Like I don't hear a car, I don't hear anything. The moment I sit in this chair, it's like the floodgates open every time. So I forgive the noise, guys. Anyway, back to what I was saying. There's this feeling a lot of us might have that it seems like they're progressing. Things are happening for them. And you're just trying to understand, well, believe in this 100%. I've committed my life to this spiritual path, whatever specifically it is for you. Why am I not having the same results? Why does it seem like, other people are just seem to be doing better, whether it's financially, whether it's in their love life, whether it's just, business, or all of the above. And in short, with anything, as we were probably told as children, or as we would tell our children, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just worry about what you're doing. That's easier said than done. It can kind of shake your core a little bit, even as an adult, even as a witch who's been practicing for a while. It can kind of feel like everybody else is kind of making strides, and you're like, should I switch up my magic? Which is what I want to get to. Don't switch up your path. Don't necessarily, at least if it's not a true calling. If the logic behind the reason you're changing your path is because somebody else seems to be making, um, getting more things, whether it's material possessions or, like I said, opportunities, their business is growing, their love life is better, or so it seems. That's not enough. So loud. That's not enough of a reason to change your entire path. Quite frankly, I would really strongly, excuse me, suggest you don't do that. Because one, you could be doing the exact same thing. You could do the same spells. You could try to mimic literally almost everything they've done, magically speaking, and not yield the same results. Your path is your path. And I know we don't always want to hear that, but I just felt like this message was necessary today, for people to understand just because somebody else does it doesn't mean, and the way they did it doesn't mean it's going to be the way that it works for you or the way that it works out. Um, I, and that's really tough because here I am on YouTube and I share things and say, hey, this worked for me, do this. But if you notice in most of my videos, whenever I share a spell, if I'm adding pages to my grimoire of things that are helpful to me, I'm always saying, I don't go too specific and I kind of leave room for you to add your little touches because ultimately that's how this works. You have to add your own signature to it. It can't be mine, or you can't follow to the letter what I did. You have to add your own thing on it. It's not enough that you're the one doing it. You've got to add something personal besides, you acting out the actual spell or ritual, but you have to add a part of yourself into it. And that can come in all different types of forms. I give suggestions of what that could be, what I do, what has worked for me. Sometimes I change it up. I might do the same spell and I'll still, change it up. Sorry about that. I'll still change it up. But it's really just, I wanted to do the video, this specific video, to just kind of remind us all that it's okay, first off, to notice other people are doing well. Magic lifestyle, I'm talking magically speaking. It's okay for us to admire. It's okay to, I don't want to say envy, but it gets your attention like, how'd she do that? Or how'd he do that? And to be curious about that. I don't see um, anything wrong with that. Actually, I think that's pretty healthy to wonder if you see somebody successful, why would you not want to know how or what they did? I think the problem comes in when you think that if you do it exactly what they did, it's going to work exactly the same way for you. Lightning doesn't always strike in the same spot. So, your path is your own. It's meant for you to go through different things. You have a whole other relationship with your ancestors, your deity, or spirit guides and so forth. Promises that you have right now to the living, that you commitment to things like that that you still must honor. That maybe they don't, and they have different type of commitments. So you guys are not on the same playing field necessarily. Not saying that they're better. They could have started technically, with a lot more obstacles against them than you have, which would have determined them having, I guess, a little bit more ambition, maybe drive. And there's a whole host of reasons why things seem to be going basically well for somebody else. When they cast, they have bigger, better results and so forth. And finally, I want to point out something else on the opposite end. When we're seeing witches who aren't doing so great, maybe they're going through things with their business or financially or in their love life, they're not finding love, and you see that. This is not to say that they're still not powerful. This is not so loud. This is not an example of them not having the same, I guess, magical pool as every other witch, or the most power, or the witches that appear to be doing so great. What it basically means is they're going through something, and you don't know why, or what. There is a deeper meaning usually behind that. There might be a trial that they need to address, they need to go through. There might be this journey that they have to be on so that they get whatever they need to get in the end. You don't know, if you're into understanding how karma works, you don't know what their karmic balance is. You don't know. Um, Past lives, the whole thing. If this is basically they're on a journey, and that's been destined. So what you see is a glimpse of a bigger picture. Is my point. But they're still powerful, and maybe this can still do work for you, or if you choose to employ them for that purpose. But the point is, it doesn't take away from their power. The thing about practicing this whole lifestyle, this witchcraft lifestyle, magical living, it doesn't protect you from everything in life as it shouldn't. There's nothing that's going to protect you from the everyday uncertainties, the concerns of the day, financially, love life related, your business, your employment, and so forth. Because there's so much other energy at play. There's so many other people's wills, being presented into the universe. There's there is never, I can honestly say, in all these years that I've been on this earth, um, we can protect ourselves as best as possible. We can put up our wards. We can pray. We can petition for protection. Um, it doesn't mean that you won't encounter obstacles. It doesn't mean you won't encounter challenges, challenging people, challenging situations. It's all how you look at it. It really is. Um, if you believe that nothing bad will ever happen to you because of your magic, you're going to be really upset when something bad happens to you. And you might want to jump ship on this whole witchcraft thing, magical living, spirituality, whatever, because you believe it doesn't work when it was never about that. Finally, I just want to say this. Speaking of people's wills, their will, the will that you put out, we all have free will. We talk about that sort of stuff. There are a lot of people collectively putting their will together to make something happen, or to keep certain institutions going, to keep certain things going, white supremacy, capitalism, so forth. There's a collective. energy that keeps that going. By default, there will be casualties. It's inevitable. And whether it's me, you, we could be casualties in some aspect to some degree. Um, is it fair? Not really. But we're talking about changing the minds of the entire world. You're talking about changing the collective. So this is bigger than just, us practicing our magic at home. That's great. But it's kind of thinking a lot bigger globally, not even just in this country. And making that sort of change takes it could start with one person, but overall, wow, that was a big truck. Overall, it will take the collective energy to try to make that type of shift. Over the years, decades, a lot of people have believed that we were on the path to that. We may still very well be. I don't know if it's going to happen in my lifetime. I don't know if all of us are willing to give up the perks of capitalism. And as far as white supremacy, I'd like to see that go. But you know, I used to think that as time went on, the old guard of that ideology would die off. Eventually it would just age and die, and then it would be over. That's what I think a lot of us thought. But as we're seeing, if you're watching the news, the thing that happened in Atlanta, that wasn't an old man. If you see, the people that went on January 6th into Washington, they weren't all old. My point is, you got younger people keeping the ideology going, keeping the institution that is white supremacy going. So that's gonna that, that's gonna be hard to, that's what I meant. One of those things collective. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's gonna be difficult because you have to really get into the root of each individual and change their mind. And then on the flip side, you got to get into um, overall, just globally speaking, people, even people of color, everybody else. Okay, I'm back. Had some technical issues with the camera there, my SD card, so forgive me. But I came back in the house because it was quiet. So collectively, yeah, it would take a lot of dismantling spells, rituals, and so forth. But collectively, we'd have to work on it all together, right? In order to dismantle this bigger issue at play. So I bring all that up because, as I hopefully didn't already mention, I'm getting turned around since I had to bring everything in the house. But my concern is that sometimes we're looking at the people who are practitioners and we're seeing things that from the outside looking in that looks like it's not going well for them financially and so forth and all that. And they're part, just like you are, just we all are part of. A lot of us are experiencing symptoms of a bigger global issue, a global problem, um, of others who benefit from that, and their collective will is keeping that machine going. They're feeding the monster, and a lot of us are just casualties, unfortunately, in that. So, I mean, just got to kind of keep that in mind. So, to bring it back to the original thing that I said, when you're seeing folks and it looks like they're doing so great and their magic is working so well, and you're trying to figure out, should I jump ship? Should I do what they're doing? Should I, my concern is when I see the number of witches, young witches. I'm not gonna call you a baby witch. Young in the witchcraft witches. When I see a lot of them going into spiritual paths, and I'll just name it, things, the Yoruba traditions, a lot of them who kind of go into that. And I feel like, one, I believe almost it's your birthright to do that, especially if you're of African descent or African ancestry. So, no problem there. However, sometimes I think that, which one were you called? Um, are you really paying attention to your calling, or are you just seeing what others are doing and things seems, at least what they're showing you again from the outside, it seems to be working for them, so you want to get on board with that because if it's working for them, it could work for you. That's not always enough to kind of enter in something to a personal spiritual journey. that's not always enough. Now, granted, to the witch who's struggling, like really struggling and going through it, and if you were to see a bunch of other witches and they're doing great and they're saying, hey, what saved me is this, or what got me going is this, and what keeps me going is this, and I can understand being attracted to that. Um, but I would use the information, but always remember to put your own personal signature on it and to be intuitive. Keep your intuition sharp so that you understand what's for you. Because like I said, everybody's path is not going to be the same. And again, thinking of the global things that I just talked about, it's going to affect us all a little bit differently. And you got to kind of remember that as well. I just felt like this is a message that I needed to share today. I am sending this out with positive intentions. I hope it's received that way. For a lot of us who might be struggling in either direction or just wondering, asking yourself the question, well, why is this happening this way for me? Or why is this not happening for me? Or whatever the scenario is for yourself. But maybe this can kind of get you a little bit off of that question and just thinking a little bit more broader, a little bit more in general, and definitely globally. Uh, I know a lot of us are okay thinking cosmically, universally, but globally, kind of the mundane things of what's happening and how it affects all of us here on this planet in our everyday lives, including us witches. So thank you again for watching. I'm Mika. This is Leap Taken. Please like, subscribe, share if you've already subscribed. Again, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Please leave in the comments anything you'd like to add as well if you're experiencing kind of these types of feelings, or if you have experienced kind of a little bit of that, witchy envy, or if you felt like kind of people have been envious of you and you'd like to say, hey, you're very proud of what's happened, but, you've gone through a lot, for things to get where they are. And if you want to kind of share that, that's great. Because I don't think a lot of people get that. They just see the end. They just see the end result, the polished work. And they're like, oh, wow, everything worked great for you. And meanwhile, you're doing healing rituals from all the stuff you had to go through to get to that point. So if you want to kind of share a little bit about that in the comments, that'd be great. I think for those who might see this video and read that, it might be helpful. So thanks again. Bye.